Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Candy and I go by Sugar Cards by Candy on social media. And I am been happy to be honored to be able to guest design for Not Too Shabby for the month of May. So I'm going to do a quick video or a quick intro of what I received. I have some products from the May box of the month. I'm going to start with these enamel dots. There's 84 of them. They're beautiful. And you can see there's kind of like a little glittery in them. And these are available separately. And I also, also available separately are the A2 card fronts. There's 12 designed, 2 of each. This one's called Summer Forest Charm. And there's also some sentiments in here. I'm going to use these sentiments to base my cards on this month, but we'll go over them very quickly here. So you get 2 of each of these beautiful, like I said, they're A2 card, great for some masculine cards, but there's also some with florals that you can make some great other types of cards, Mother's Day card or Thinking of You card. I love the berries, raspberries. Berries are some of my favorite foods. I love some of these. I'm going to pick and choose some of these to make as my focal point. I got those cute fox. Oh, and there is 2 with the deer. I just must have put it. There it is. I love the depth of these, all of them. There's different levels. And I mean, if you look at some of these, there's even the little bit of the, there's some script in the background to give it. We've got lots of little critters and things like that. So we've got those. And to go along with them is the Woodland Summer pack. According to, I think my information, this comes in the box. And you get 12 designs, 6x6 sheets. They are double-sided. So there's the deer, and there's some berries. We got the ferns, the cabin, the bears with the berries, and a nice like woven dark brown. You've got your red and white plaid, a bigger version of the berries. Blueberries are some of my favorite. Mushrooms and ferns. Then we got pine needles and pine cones, and then you've got a lighter woven brown, and this one has an owl with some ferns. And then last but not least, what I'm going to work with is the Woodland Summer ephemera die cut pieces. I have them kind of all pulled out here. I'm just going to kind of go through some of them. I'm not going to just spread them out. You've got picnic and cabin things. You've got butterflies and critters and mushrooms and just a great amount of things to create little scenes. So I'm going to go through and pick some of these out as well to be on my card panels. And other than cardstock, some ink, and maybe some basic die shapes, I'm just going to be using these items from the kit, and I'm going to use the bonus sentiments as my sentiment and inspiration. So I'm going to go prepare some of the die cutting off screen and prep work, and I'll come back and we'll get some cards made. All right, let's see you in a little bit. Okay, I've gone ahead and prepped a bunch of my cards. I did some of the die cutting, a little bit of the cutting out off this because I like to create a few cards using these products in my video. I am going to take my inspiration from the sentiments, and then I went through the OWH, which is the operationwritehome.org. If you go there, or if you just Google Operation Write Home Sketches, you can find them. I will try to link it down below as well so that you can download them. There are no new ones, but they are all archived. One of my favorite things about going through when you get everything like paper and card panels and ephemera and embellishments is to use a sketch and create a fun basic card. So for this one, I'm using the sketch number 44, and I'm just going to cut this down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. You know, your standard A2 card base. I love this pattern paper. It's so pretty. And then I can save these for another piece off to the side. And then I chose this brown piece. This one's a fairly simple card. And it's going to be 2.25 inches over by 5.5. And I just wanted to show how you can very quickly create some cards with a kit if you use sketches like this. Now you could totally pull in a red and cut this down 1/4 inch and layer it on each piece to give it a dimension, but I'm going to go pretty basic with this first card. And then I pulled this beautiful bear panel out. Now I chose a sketch specifically that had this big panel on it. And we're gonna go over and I'm gonna cut a little bit down from each side. It's supposed to be 3.25, and these are 4.25. So I need to do an entire inch, but I don't want to take a full inch off just this side. So I'm going to go to I'm going to take a 1/2 inch off this side. And then I'm going to, because I want some of those berries and stuff. And then I'm going to go over here. I'm just going to look at it. And I'm like, okay, that works for me because you can still see some of this on this side. So 3.25. And then 4.5. Well, this is at 5.5. That means we need to take another inch off. But like I said, I don't want to cut all those berries off. So let's start with the top and go over 1/2 inch and cut off just a little bit of the bear. And then let's just look at it. I go from 5.5 and I need it at 4.5. That works for me. Okay. See, now we still have most of that main image, and it's up to you. These scraps will be something I probably will toss because they're not enough of anything for me to use. And then all we need to do is we can put this on here. Now this is where you have to make that decision. Do we like this? Does it need a little breakup? It could have a little breakup. Like I said, we could do some matting layer on here. I'm trying to decide if I want to mat this just a little hair bit, but I'm also thinking of maybe roughing up everything just a hair and just giving it a little bit of something extra. So I'm just going to grab my little de-stressor. This is just an old de-stressor. You can use any one you want. You can use the edge of a scissors. Some people use a nail, their fingernail if they have strong fingernails. I've had this one for years. And I'm just going to go through and rough it up. Just because it's kind of a rusticy looking. I mean, you could tear some edges. It's all up to you. I'm just going to rough this up a little bit. It creates quite a mess. Here, if you take your scissors, you can take your scissors and you can do the same thing, just with your edge of your scissors. You can do the whole thing, you can do partials. I'm gonna go ahead and rough up the whole edges, just because it's gonna give that little bit of something. And it will match. You know, the whole thing will kind of match. Okay. I'm going to go ahead, now that I've got that all finished, and also add a little bit of ink. This is the Gur ink from Simon Hurley, and I'm just going to kind of do those edges just a little bit. Kind of will help get a little extra of the fraying off, and it just kind of deepens the edges. I know a lot of people like to use a foam dauber. You could do that too. If I get a little bit of the fuzzies on my ink pad, I just wipe them off. And then I'm going to go ahead and do that to this piece as well. And then I think one other thing I'm going to do here is we're going to go ahead and put this down. And line it up. It goes right down the center of our card panel. And then I think before I add anything on here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab, I have this shimmer splash from my stash. It's from Brutus Monroe. Grab a little tray here just to protect a little bit. Actually, maybe I want to put my cloth down a little. I'm just going to add a little bit of splatter. It's not going to add a lot, but it's going to add just a little interest. Try to concentrate more around the edges because the center is going to be covered. It has this little paintbrush in it. It's, you know, sometimes I'll put some on my mat and grab a paintbrush, but that works. And then I'm gonna go ahead and set this aside to dry. I could set with my heat tool too, and then we'll put our card together. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and grab some foam tape. So I just wanna give a little bit of lift to my bear image here. And I just kind of try to, I don't make it perfect, but this is a small enough image that 3 pieces will work. Get the backer off. And then I'm going to go ahead and center that on my card panel. And that little bit of extra de-stress and a little bit of extra, that foam tape gives it just enough lift. And then of course, we've got some of our ephemera here we can add. I've decided I pulled a bunch of them, you know, but I decided I really like this the way it is. So I'm just going to add my card or my sentiment. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to rough this up just a hair. Let's see. I'm just going to measure it on here and I'm going to go all the way across my card. So that means I'm going to go ahead and rough up the edge here a little bit on each side. And then I'm just going to take whatever ink was left on my brush and just kind of rub it on the edges just to not make it so white, because the panel isn't quite so white, right? And then it's a little bit more rustic. Then I've got a couple pieces of foam squares here that I can put down on each side. That looks pretty good. And I'm just going to go ahead and put it in right around the berries and kind of edge to edge. And then I'll add a little bit of ephemera. I think I'm going to grab some of these red ones, or these little enamel dots. Let me grab a pick tool here. I don't use a lot of, I tend to forget to use things like this, so I'm excited to use some. I'm going to grab one of each size. I like to do numbers in 3. I'm going to do 2 up here, and then I'll put 1 just trying to decide. I don't try to overthink it too much. We'll put 1 up here. That's that bigger one. And that is all it needs is a card base. And we have card number 1. All right. I'm going to clean up, reset, and we'll move on to card number 2. Okay, for card number 2, I am going to use bonus sketch. It just says bonus sketch. So I'm not 100% sure what number, other than it says bonus. It's right by number 61, so bonus sketch. I've already got some of my stuff pre-cut. I grabbed some pink cardstock from my stash as my card panel. And then I cut one of the berry pieces down. I wanted to use as much of this beautiful pattern paper as I could on these cards. It's one of the things I love about kits is, I think I said this before, was showcasing the beautiful papers. They do all the hard work for us. Now I changed my sketch up just a little bit. I actually cut down this piece by a 1/4 inch. And then I'm going to mat I'm going to mat both of these layers. I'm not matting this layer because this is going to be our color with it too. I could have switched them around and done this the color and then this one matted, but so I'm doing just a little bit of difference there. So I'm going to go ahead and mat this, and this way it breaks up those berries. And I can still use them. I mean, you could use any of these papers. You could flip this around and put the deer on there too. Because it has that same red berry color. And let's see, is this one? This one is edge to edge. So it's just got a mat at the top and the bottom. Okay. I will link anything I can below. I will also note anything that is an affiliate link. You know, I usually put them separate, so those links that are direct links are there, and then if there's an affiliate link, I usually mark those. So if there's something you're interested in. All right, so I'm just going to use this pink cardstock from my stash as it goes in here like this. And then I thought this was kind of a fun little thing, and I have this Berry Sweet Summer sentiment, which I thought was really kind of fun as well. So I'm going to use this, and it says it's 2.75 by 3.5. So I'm going to not worry so much about centering this as much as I'm going to go, and I'm going to look, and I'm going to go, maybe I'll go, what is 3.5? I'm going to go 3.75 to start. And then I'll pop over here and move it to 3.5. And that will just trim that up a little bit this way. And then I kind of like the journaling up here, but I don't need that much of it. And it's only 2.75. So we're going to cut some of that off at the top. And then we'll move this one to, did I cut that wrong? This one is the, oh, this is the 2.75. I apologize. This one's the 3.5. So we're going to cut this down. And I'm going to cut it down a little bit because I want 2 of those berries. To see if there's 2 white berries there, so that way there's just not one. So I'm going to rearrange this a little bit in 3.5. We're going to cut a little more off that journal at the top. And then 2.75, we're going to go ahead and cut off a lot of that edge. And then I want to leave a little bit of that. I don't know if it's a seal or if it's a stamp there, just for that color. Now this is a piece that you could use for the inside of your card. You know, you could use these little pieces here, but I am just gonna, for the sake of filming right now, just put them off to the side and decide if I want to save them later. And then this just goes right here. Now you could also layer this piece. This doesn't look 100% straight. Good thing I used tape runner. That looks better. And I could layer it as well, but I think because it's on that pink, I'm going to leave it down a little bit. I'm not going to layer it. I'm just going to put it on here. And then we're going to put our little sentiment on here. And going to leave my sentiment white this time. And I will tell you why we're going to do that here. So we're just going to center this a little bit, top to bottom. Let a little bit more of that pink show out. Okay, I should make sure I'm straight. I don't worry too much if it's not perfect. I try to make it just look at least pleasing to my eye. All right, we're going to throw our sentiment on here. And once again, I'm going to leave it the length of my project. I'm going to move it up to the middle. So that I can see that beautiful unripened berries, and I don't cover up my the green seal there either. And then I have some of these, the ephemera. We have, you know, there's a bunch of the raspberries here and the jar of strawberries. I think I'm going to just use the berries. And we'll put a couple here, and I'm just going to kind of play around. Sometimes it's easier to pick it up and move it. I think we're going to pop these up though. So let's put some foam tape on the back. There was the Raspberry Pi. You could do the Raspberry Pi. There was the book with the raspberries. Those all worked really well with this background. But I like to do things in odd numbers, so 3, 5, 7. Let's just grab a couple of these little berries here. And I'm just going to put a couple of them right here, overlapping them a little bit. Have a berry sweet summer. And then I'll put this one guy over here. And then we're going to grab a couple of our little gems. And I think I'm going to grab a couple of the white ones here. And I'm going to stick one there. And I'm going to stick one above it. And then I'll do one below it. Just so that they look like they're as straight as they can be. And then I can use my little pick tool here to kind of move it over. There we go. So we just need a card base, and we are done with card number 2. All right, I'm going to go ahead and reset, and we will move on to card number 3. Okay, for card number 3, I'm using Sketch 157, and we're going to use the deer in this You're So Dear to Me. I have all the measurements cut out except for this big image. So if I look, I've got my card panel here, which is 4 by 4.5. I cut this deer panel down to 4 by 5.25. Like I said, I will mark all the sketches down below, and I will link any cardstock or any extra products that I used if they're still available. I like to pull things from my stash, and you know, sometimes I'm not worried too much about it. We all have like a green cardstock or a green ink, and I just kind of go with what I have. Okay, now I did not glue that down 100% right, so hopefully I can, there we go. I know I look like I bent my cardstock down a little bit, but I'm just going to eyeball it one more time. And it's still not straight. That's what happens sometimes. I just like to show that. So usually if you can get 3 sides straight, the 4th side is... All right, that looks pretty close. Now, it's not perfect, but it's close. All right, next, I have some more of that green cardstock that's going to go right here. And I just grabbed a piece of white cardstock this time. Just white cardstock from my scrap bun, just to kind of break up all the color and the patterns. Okay. And then it will tie in a little bit with our sentiment so that there's some white. There's a little bit of, looks like smudge on my, oh, there's a little, I didn't clean my desk from ink blending. Okay, so let's wipe that up quick. I forgot because it was such a light color. So, get this off. Most of it's going to be covered, but this little bit here that I have a sand eraser. It's very light here. I'm just going to go in and, sorry if I shake a little bit, because I'm going to be aggressively erasing. There we go. That'll work, because we're going to cover some of that up. Oh, it's going to be mostly covered up anyway with this pattern paper here. These pattern papers all go together so well. And that is the end of my tape runner. That glue looks bad because I think I must not have a very good needle in my glue and it's a little rusty, but you're not going to see that. Okay, I paused and put some new tape in my tape gun. So we can finish on. This piece goes right in the center, which is going to cover up that schmutz that I had. I always look for those if that's an design opportunity. Okay, so this piece goes in the center, but before I attach that, I need to cut my deer down. So it says it's 3 by 5, 3.5. So once again, I'm going to go ahead and cut at the top of the antlers first, just a little bit there. And then I'm going to go here to see it's 3.5 to see where that goes at. I'm okay with cutting off some of his legs. So let's go just a little bit higher. And then when I cut that down, it just cuts a little bit of that. And then we're going to go this way. And I'm going to, it says 3. So let's cut up the back of his tail. And then we'll go this way. And oh my gosh, look, I could not have planned that better myself. Look at how much of that image. Now he's not quite centered. So we might actually trim this off just a hair, which means we may have to cut our panel down because I want him centered a little bit more. So because now that's going to give us a wider border, we're just going to trim it down a little bit. I'm just going to eyeball it. And then I'll just hold it on.
You aren't going to believe this.
And that's, so we cut that down a little bit. Let's just see how it fits. Yep, I just like to eyeball. Take your time, trim around the edges. That is a tip I definitely can give you. You know, a little bit off each side. Don't rush. And you don't have to do it exactly how, you know, the sketch or the card you're following shows you. I mean, see, look. I mean, look at how fun that is. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to add a little bit of cardstock. I'm going to grab a couple of the cardstock scraps that I have used to cut off. And we're just going to put a little tape runner at the top, a little tape runner at the bottom, and I'm going to put this on here and I'm just going to tear the edge. Oops. Tear it off a little bit. And what this is going to do is going to give it that little bit of lift. So we're just going to cover it up. Nobody's going to see that. You can use any kind of scratch paper you want. And that's just going to help give it without having foam tape. You could do multiple. I think one fit well for me for that scratch paper. And go ahead and center that on the card base like this. Now, like I said, you could have done a second layer. It's a little low, but it works for me. And then I'm going to take my sentiment here. You're so dear to me. And I'm going to just trim it. And I don't do this very often, so I'm just going to do it. We're just going to trim it like that. And then I think I'm just going to eyeball it like this. You're so dear to me, just like that. And then we'll adhere that. Oops. And we'll put that in right here, right up at the edge. Oh, I want to go down a little bit lower so it's more on his legs. And then I'm just going to grab a couple of these darker green embellishments and just put them around, maybe up in here. 1, 2, 3, and I'll put a couple down here. 4 and 5. There is card number 3. Okay, for my next card, I'm using sketch 57. And I chose this mushroom paper in this adorable stamp or pre-printed card, stamp image. It's beautiful. I do have a few other pieces pulled here, and we're going to use the Sending You Woodland Wishes sentiment. So we're going to start by putting our mat. This is just some red cardstock from my stash. And then I need two 1 3/4 by 1 3/4 squares. So I pulled the red from here. So we're gonna go ahead and do 1 3/4. Line that up. And then we need two of those. So 1 3/4. Make sure that's up there nice and tight. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and use the next one down because it will match the pattern. 1 3/4. Make sure that's nice and tight there. Okay. And then for my, those are gonna go here. And then for my main image here, this, I love this. It's 3 by 3 3/4. So we're gonna cut it down. Let's cut this side down first. Cut up to his tail. And then when we go this way, it's a little, I should have probably cut a little bit less, but we've got all that mushroom in there. And then we need 3 by 3 3/4. So I'm gonna cut a bunch off this way. Like I said, just kind of eyeballing. I'd rather cut a little bit off each side and then see where I'm at. We'll do a little bit. I really want to keep as much of this image as we can on there. So 3 3/4 is going to be right there. So we got that beautiful, still scene. Then we got our little, oh, I think these go this way. And then we've got our little circle here. And then for this, I thought I'd go through, I'm gonna go up this just a little bit. So we still have our squirrel here. And I've got our little mouse here. And I thought maybe I would tuck a little mushroom into the side or two here. Hadn't decided if I want one or two. We might just do the mouse. And I also got the bigger mouse. Thinking maybe we'll do the bigger mouse. And then I have the sentiment here, sending you woodland wishes. And I think we're gonna put that up at the top. So let's get this all glued down. Move our pieces out of the way. I chose this sketch because I wanted to find another big area that would showcase these wonderful images. So I'm going to lay this one down in this corner and just kind of eyeball them. So they're kind of about the same. When I do this, I want them to be about the same distance. Same thing with this. I want this to be up at the same. So I'm going to put this piece in next. And that will help me guide my last square here. I'm going to turn that sideways and I can look and I can kind of eyeball it across up here and eyeball the amount of space that we have. Okay, that works. I'm sure you could get out a ruler if you wanted it to be precise with your spacing. I know they make some little tools to do that. I just eyeballing it. It is handmade after all. And then I'm going to go this way and I'm going to line up this and I'm going to line up this as much as I can. And I'm kind of just eyeballing to see if that looks right. That looks pretty close. Except card making doesn't have to be perfect. And then we can put this guy on here. And I think what we'll do is we'll glue him down onto our little circle here, and then we'll pop this guy up. And I'm just going to use, I have some leftover pieces here, trying to use up for my foam squares. Let's get one on each one of his little ears. Okay. Got those pieces. Let's just kind of lean this up here. Yeah, that's gonna kind of go up here, but I just want to eyeball my my little mouse here. And then once again, I'm gonna trim this down. But I'm gonna trim this one down by what I'm gonna do is I use the plastic guard on my trimmer and I line the edge of the sentiment up. That's why I did the top and bottom edges too. And add a little bit of foam tape. Oh. Shoot.
Love you, baby.
I love you, baby.
Just put shorts on and put a whole bunch of salve on that thing. It hurt like a fucker.
Yeah.
What time would you like to eat, hon?
5:30, okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Good.
So I played around with placement a little bit of my sentiment, and I am going to overlap it just a hair. And just kind of right up at the top, just to tie those couple of pieces together. A little bit of a hump for my tape runner there. And then we'll grab some of those enamel dots and put them down, except that I just misplaced them. There we go. I think we'll grab some of the light green ones this time, and we'll just put a couple of them around our little guy here. And there we go. Card number 4. Put my sentiment down towards the top here. I got a little bit of a bump from my adhesive, so I may have to kind of fix that. And then I added a couple of the dots. I rearranged them, so I wanted to show you how I finished that up. So I just need to add that to a card base. All right, let's clean up and move on to our next card. My next card's kind of simple. It's going to go fairly quickly because I did pre-cut out my card panel with the opal and cut some of these down. So it's sketch number 161. So I have my card panel already, A2 size. I chose this fabulous fern piece. And I'm going to cut that down to 4 by 5 1/4. And got that already laid here. So my tape runner is just broken. So I'm going to kind of do this in an awkward looking way to use up my tape runner. But I'm going to show you how you can use your tape runner if it breaks. I'm going to go ahead and just roll it on. Yep, I'm just going to roll it on. And then I get to a certain point, I can go ahead and fix my tape runner because I have enough. But this is one way I can go about doing that without wasting a good tape roll. Because every once in a while, you know, your tape just doesn't cooperate. So I'm going to go ahead and roll that all on. And peel it the wrong way. And now I have enough runner that I can run around and replace it like normal. Okay, now that I've got my tape runner fixed, I can go ahead and add the rest of my tape. This dark paper, kind of hard to see it. Add that to the center here. This is beautiful. I love this, the colors, the different variations of the green. And then for a center panel here, I need a 4 1/4 by 4 3/4. And this one is 4 1/4 by 1 3/4. And this one is 4 1/4 by 1 1/2. And I like the greens from this. This card's got lots of greens in it. And this one's just gonna go top and bottom border. And then we go ahead and add this to our card base. This, like I said, this one will come together fairly quickly. It's the nice thing about some of these basic sketches that are just so pretty, that they can share the focal point. Nope, I did not quite get that one straight. It's a little straight, but it's not perfect. So I'm just gonna pull it up gently. There we go. That looks better. And then I cut out those beautiful birds out with some infinity dies, you know, nesting die things. And then I changed from the sketch just a little bit to add a matte layer behind it of the same green. I'm just gonna get that in there as centered as I can. I don't usually do ovals very often, so it's a nice change for me, but I love this little bird couple. It's nice and springy this time of year with all the little birds coming back to Iowa and chirping, waking me up in the morning, flying around. And then this one just goes up kind of towards the top like this. Like I said, I went with a little bit bigger circle too, and of course it's centered versus this one. This one is a little bit bigger. I think this is a 2.5 by 3 3/4 oval, but yeah, that will work. And then I love this Sending Rustic Wooden Love. And I'm going to go ahead and cut this one down as well. Same way I did the last card, just lining it up inside. Cutting off each end. I love sentiments that match what you're using. And then this guy, I think we'll do a little pop-up with just a few pieces. 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'll just kind of put that right center that in as much as I can. I thought this fit very well with our little birds and their little bird family. And then on the sketch, there are 2 circles, and I don't have 2 big dark ones anymore, so we're going to use 2 of the smaller ones. Now you could totally use a different color, but I'm going to stay with the greens that match. There we go. Simple but beautiful. Okay, for my next card, I did a little bit of math, and I'm just going to go with my math and figure it out. I took this beautiful flower panel, and instead of figuring out, because there's a little bit of an edge, I knew I had to take them down, but I wanted to add, so I added up all of my dimensions so I would know what to cut this. And what I figured out is this is the size my panel needs to be, which is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. So I'm going to do the 3 7/8 first, and I'm just going to trim down a little bit off each side till I get to that. Unfortunately, 3 7/8 is a pretty easy because it's 1 notch over, and then the 5 7/8 is going to be 5 1/8 is only going to be 1 notch in, and I'm just going to do this very easily and just trim off most of the top. That should get us fairly close to what we need. Now I need a 1.5 inch is first, so we're going to do that one first. This is this side. And then this one should be 2 3/8, which if I go 1, 2, 3, it is. So then this one needs to be 2 3/8, 1, 2, 3. And then this one also needs to be 2 3/8. So I'm a little bit, my bottom measurement was off just a little bit, but that's fine. We can make it, I'll make it work. Okay. They're close. And then this one is 2 3/8 by 2 3/8 square. So 2 and 1, 2, 3/8. And 2 and 1, 2, 3/8 there. And then we have a 2-inch circle, which I've already cut, pre-cut. So now I can still use this beautiful panel, but it's going to be like a mosaic. I just have to make sure it goes this way. So I grabbed this beautiful pink paper, and we're going to go ahead and just lay it out as a grid. And then our little circle is going to go right here, which is going to cover some of our flower, but that's okay. Like I said, now I may not have done this exactly perfect. I'm going to use the top corner, kind of layer this in, and use these two to kind of lay in what I want for a border, because I can always trim my border and mat it on my card base, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to use my top edge, line everything up, and trim off the bottom if I need to. Now, if I was just using if you were not using a non-pattern piece of paper, this, like if you were just using cardstock for your mat, it would probably not be as important. But I wanted to use this as a panel, kind of make it look like a, not really a stained glass, but kind of. So we're just going to do that. And then we'll grab this piece here. And we're going to get this here. And I'm just eyeballing all of the pieces. Like I said, it's going to be a little bit shorter. I didn't quite do my measurements right, according to the sketch. And maybe this piece is too long, to be honest with you. But I'm making it work. I'm going to make it work for me. And my piece is just a little short. Oh no. Well, I'm going to go down a little bit with it because how I'm going to fix that. If I notice this is a little short, I can't recut it. So what I'm going to do is we're going to just make that space a little bit wider from here to bottom. And then when I go to put my circle in, I'll just put my circle in over here, and that will cover that up. Okay, so we're going to trim off the bottom a little bit. So we've got that same space, a little bit off the side, with the same dimension. And then I can actually just center this on my card like this. That little bit of white border will tie into our sentiment. Oh, because the bottom was supposed to be 2 3/4. That's why I did them 2 3/8 and 2 3/8. That's what I did wrong. I apologize. So I figured that out right now, but it works. And I'm going to just line it up from top to bottom, about the same width. I can always trim that little extra piece off there. We've got our little circle here to go over, and I'm just going to, like I said, modify my pattern just a little bit. I already did that. And then I've got those beautiful butterflies and dragonflies that we can add. I thought even the bird would be fun to add. Trying to decide. I think we're going to do the butterflies on here, and then we'll add a couple of dragonflies. I'm going to put the butterflies right in the center and put a dragonfly up here. And we'll put a dragonfly kind of Maybe we'll do this guy. Let's do him kind of flying at this rose. And then I have the enjoy the sunshine and the wildflowers. And we will just put that down right here at the bottom. And this all white will tie together. A little bit different card for me, but I really enjoy this type. Let's see, this just will go end to end. Trim off the extra if we need to, and then I'm going to grab some of those pink gems and just put a couple of them on here. Oops. I'll put one there. I'm gonna actually do a couple extras on this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Yeah, the last one is stuck to my finger. There we go. All right, I'm gonna clean up and I have one more card for you guys. Okay, for my last card, I've got sketch 152. I used an old Spellbinder scallop circle and die. Pulled a green cardstock from my stash. And I'm going to use the owl pattern paper. I need 2 2¼ by 2¼ inch squares. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut them down this way first. And then I'll do 2¼ This one's a fairly quick one as well, by 2¼ It's very nice with the ephemera because it doesn't take too much to do this. And so these are gonna go in this corner, just like this. So let's add those. And then my circle and my scalloped, my inner circle is about 3 inches and my scallop is about 3½ inches. And I just used the same green cardstock for the circle, and I grabbed the pattern, the brown paper for the scallop. And that is our focal point. So these two are just going to go in this corner like this, in this corner like that. And then I have my circle here. And a little bit of extra tape on there. We're going to center that on our scalloped. Add a little bit of tape to the center of our scallop, and that goes right smack dab in the center. And then I grab this adorable little owl, and the sentiment is a hello, a friendly hello from the forest. So we're going to cut this puppy down. Let's do that quick here. Because this little owl just looks so friendly with his little hat and bow tie on here. Looks like he's ready to say hello. I'll put that down, so let's get that down first. Get that kind of straight on here. Use the scallops if I can to kind of make that look straight. And then we're gonna put our little owl down here. I was thinking of popping him up, but I think I'm just gonna put him flat on this one. Put him, rest him right on top. You could totally grab some of this greenery and stick this down on behind him, but I kind of wanted his focal point to be like that. And then I'm gonna grab some of the enamel dots. And I think we're gonna use some of the brown ones this time. And I'm gonna put that big one there. I'll put a brown one, a little one here, another one there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll do this one like this one too. 6 and 7. That might be a little too much, but I like to make them a little random. Oh, I moved that. I probably shouldn't have done that. It stuck down good. Okay. So there we go. those are our cards, you guys. Let me see if I can get them all laid out on here. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for to Not Too Shabby and letting me guest design this month. I hope you enjoyed my cards. And you can subscribe to my channel if you would like to see more from me, and give me a thumbs up or a like. Which one of them was your favorite? So all I have to do is put them on a card base. So have a great night and day, whatever time it is you're watching this, and I will see you in the future. Bye.